Everyone, welcome back to another episode on the topic of getting an MBA. So in the previous two episodes, my friend and I talk about the various goals one may have when going for an MBA, which goals benefit from it and which one may not be, the value of an MBA and whether it's still worth it to do an MBA in 2021 with the online learning experience. So in today's episode, I will share my own experiences with the Global MBA program at IE Business School, and I will answer some of the questions that I received on Instagram about this topic. The first question is, did you do it at the same time as your FSA, CFA, or did it after you had completed them? So here was the timeline. So in June 2014, I finished my last actuary exam with the Canadian Institute of Actuaries. In August, I completed the fellowship admission course with the Society of Actuaries. So during the summer 2014, I already knew that I would apply for an MBA program and was researching on which school I want to apply. So I wrote my GMAT in late October. I passed my CFA level 1 in December of 2014. So I applied for the first round of admission in around January 2015 for 3 schools, so including Schulich, IE Business School, and Harvard. I actually don't think I would get into Harvard, but I try anyway, so that I wouldn't regret about not applying. So I got admitted into IE and Schulich, and then I chose to go with IE Business School. So I will explain my choices next about why I decided to apply to this school. Anyway, so I wrote and passed my CFA level 2 exam in June 2015. I was supposed to start the program in September 2015 for IE Business School, but I got into a new position at work in the enterprise risk management area. So it was a new area in my company. It's something that I always wanted to get experience in, and I highly value my time in my new position. So I wanted to put this as the top of my priority, and also like to build like more trust with my new team. So I decided to delay my starting time for the MBA program with IE to the next cycle, which starts April 2016 instead. So I also passed because I passed my CFA level 2 in June 2015. So my last CFA level exam would be June 2016. So it did have an overlap with my MBA program starting like from April. So yeah, luckily I also passed my CFA level 3. And after that, so I just had my MBA program and also just planning my weddings during in 2016. So I kind of have some overlaps between the whole journey of applying for an MBA program, starting it with my CFA exam. Although like my original focus was to finishing all of my actual requirements, and that's what I did. So and if you ask me whether we should do multiple things at the same time, like actual exam and then CFA exam or MBA, like I would say that personally, I would place focus on getting the actual designation first, because like we want to become an actuary is a professional designation. It means something. So if that's your priority, you should focus on it first. And then afterward, you can do other things and like depend on the workload, the priorities and stuff. Then you can, maybe do CFA or the master at the same time or work or study. So either way, it's like I was working entire time for that whole to like I guess for the past 10 years as well. So it's like it was very busy. That was like the very busiest time of my working, studying, like 2015, 2016. I actually made a video about like 10 productivity and time management tips that helped me push through all of those during those times. So make sure you check it out as well, and I think it may benefit for you if you're thinking of doing multiple projects or you have multiple priorities that you want to accomplish. I didn't want to spend like over 6 figures for this. So if I were to go for an on-campus program, maybe 2 years, which is typical for an MBA program. So if you take into account the opportunity cost, and if it's like some, you see US program, you probably most likely you're talking about like the whole cost of for the 2 years, including the tuition fee, the salary and everything is like maybe like 300-400K. So that was definitely wasn't appealing for me, or like I don't see much of the good return on that. So I was doing my research in Schulich from York University. So they do have a part-time program. It has an accelerated program for those who have a business undergrad degree, which is my case. I do have a Bachelor of Business Administration. So you technically you can complete the program as short as 8 months full-time, or like 10 courses in general. And then there's also like I found out about the online, well, they position as blended program from the IE Business School, a global MBA program that's like 80% online and 20% in person, which includes like the first week in Spain, the last week back in Spain, and then 1 week visits in one of the international hubs around the world, sometimes maybe in Shanghai, sometimes maybe Hong Kong, sometimes in like London, UK, or like in the US. So for my year, we had a visit to Silicon Valley, so San Francisco, which was great. So, and I also, because like this for me is like, it's something additional also for personal fulfillment, and something like the cost of the MBA program was also a factor. Like, well, I think for a lot of us, it will be like important factors, what we choose to go for. So the Schulich is like, because of the accelerated program for sure, like I think it was much, more affordable options, probably 30-40K. The IE Business School, the Global MBA, I think it was about 40,000, maybe 45,000 euro at that point in time. So I think it's like maybe converted to like 65,000 or 70,000, which is actually still quite good compared to like if you're going for Toronto MBA programs like 2 years. I think it was over 6 figure. Same thing. IB Business School was like 12 month full time. So the cost and the value and what I would have got from it, it didn't really make sense for my case. Although as I mentioned earlier, I did apply for Harvard and it was only full-time option, but like I just wanted to give it a try to see if I even get in, but I knew that I didn't think that I would, and yeah, I didn't get it. And I think it was great that I didn't have to make that choice, because like giving up my career and then also like engage and everything. Yeah, I think IE, the MBA Global MBA program with the blended option was a perfect fit for me. I admitted into both IE Business School and also Schulich. So why did I choose to go for IE? So first of all, it's like the Schulich program. So they was promoted more as like a course base. And one of my friends also was doing the MBA at Schulich, and she confirmed with me, it's really like you choose to specialize in different tracks, and then you can choose the different courses that you want. So essentially, you may make a lot of, can have a lot of different network with different students, but usually like students already going there for a career switch reason. So it's why for IE, for the blended online program, so we have to take in total, I think, can't remember, like maybe like 15, 16 different requirements and stuff, and their own case study method. So similar to like the Harvard case study method. So, and you cannot choose which courses. We all go through the same experiences of like 16 months. And, we have like, for my classes, like we have 30 students coming from 20 different countries. So it's a very diverse group of people. So for me, it's like, and they position it like they want you to work and study at the same time. The Schulich program is also the same. Like you can do it like part-time, weekend, evening. So I live in London, Ontario, which is like 2 hours away from Toronto. So I was thinking of, oh yeah, maybe I can do it during the weekend. But of course, like having the online program like IE was more appealing to me. But again, like that experience of like having working with diverse group of people who like going through the same thing is like we all have to working and studying. Like for the Schulich, the people that taking your courses may not have the same experience with you. They may already like doing that course like full time. So it's like, you don't know But like for IE, I know for sure that most of us gonna be like already have heavy workload, and the position it is like they want you to have similar workload as an executive, so that you know like how you can handle manage multiple projects in life. And for me that's challenging, and but I like challenges, so in a way it was appealing to me for that. And I didn't need to do like a career switch or something. So this is really for personal growth as well. So I really want to work with other people that have very different experiences and different mindset and like different way of thinking. They're not quantitative. They like well, some of them are, some of them are not. So that's why for me, like the IE business program, like the way they had, like how the student with my classmate, everything for me, like it was perfect. So also secondly is like IE has a much higher ranking globally, and they show like and they are well known. Maybe not so much in Canada, but I think globally, I do think IE has a strong reputation. And yeah, so I was attracted to like the whole online program, the flexibility of it, the challenge, and like be able to working with a diverse group of students, and also like they focus on entrepreneurship, innovation, diversity. So those were the area that like I'm thinking like I would gain the most from it, and not just the like the traditional course base. Like the course base, I can always get the knowledge or the education myself, but like this with whole like entrepreneurship, diversity, all of these innovations, the mindset and stuff, that was like, I think that was great. So that's why I decided to go for the IE business school, even though like it will be longer, and also it cost more than the Schulich. Overall, I am very happy with my experience with the IE program. So mainly because like I pretty much is like it met my expectation of like having a strong, like a more close-knit community. So again, I mentioned we have 30 students from like, well, 2 classes of 60 students in total, but like my first group is like around 30 students from 20 different countries. And while my team is like 6 of us, and then right now we still chit chat every on WhatsApp and stuff like once in a while. So it is really great. And you know, like for me, that was like also an excuse, like if I travel around the world, now I have friends that I can visit. And also like because it was a blended program, so it's like I have to be in Spain for at the beginning and the end. I think it was a great excuse as well to travel. And my husband and I enjoy traveling, so that was awesome too. So yeah, so for me, it fit the bill. I think it provide the highest value in terms of like the education, the content, to like really like expose me back of the different train, like technology, general management, the case study method. So those for me to like really work with different people. So I didn't really aim to have like high grade or something, but I think like the knowledge that I get from the program was very great. The only thing I didn't really like about it is the daily participation, because you know, for participation sometimes you have to do like 3 to 5 different posts every day, and you cannot say the same thing as the previous student. And because we all from like different part of the world, so depending on the time zone, I may happen to be like the last person or one of the last people comments, and then you have to read through all of the previous points. You're like, oh, what are the different things that people haven't mentioned yet? And then you have to add it on. So for daily participation, that was intense. And also like, because I was in North America, so my class, a lot of the time it was 5 a.m. every Saturday. For a night owl person like me who like to sleep in, waking up every week for 5 a.m. class was challenging. But some of my friends had classes at like 4 a.m. and sometimes 3 a.m. So I shouldn't complain that much. But yeah, so I would say like those are really enough fun to think about doing the online program. But overall, I would say I am very happy with my experiences at IE. And if you consider something similar, yeah, definitely check it out. But like in today's environment, there are there are more and more online MBA programs that are so reputable. So for sure, like you will have more options. I think like back then, like 7 years ago, there was that like this is still unconventional. So there were not that many options. IE Global MBA program is still a great choice, but definitely you should do your research and to make sure that you will find a good fit for what essentially you want. Another question is what the ROI on an MBA. Personally, you can argue that financially wise, the ROI is not that high. For my case, I'm an actuary, I'm fully qualified actuary already. And without the MBA, I'm most likely still be able to get to the level where I am today. But the experiences, again, the friendship I made, the network I built, the mindset, the confidence I developed with the program, for me, like all of these things make up like very invaluable and quite major. It's also applied on the entrepreneurship mindset from the IE program, for my photography business and for my YouTube channel. So I don't think we should put a number in this, but my conclusion is worth it. And again, like, it's what I was doing at the same time, while I'm still working. So it's not like I took years off and I lose more opportunity cost on that. So I think like for the cost of the program back then, I definitely like, well, it's not cheap, but I think like compared to a lot of other programs and like what I could get from it, and overall, I think is a good investment. I got another question from another fellow qualified actuary, and he said that from Toronto, and he wants to know like why I chose to do an MBA online MBA program instead of an MBA based in Toronto. Toronto MBA is quite good based on the rating, and I agree. But as I mentioned previously, like going for Toronto MBA is like an on-campus experience, and I didn't want to quit my job. I just want to do it part-time. So doing an online program, like the technology with the IE Business School, like with the case study method, like how we just we from different part of the world and we still will be able to work together, and everything is like for me, it's like I still can apply for work because like my company, we have different people working in different locations. So how can you build the relationships when you never really get to meet each other, or like maybe once or twice, and that's it. So I think like those skill sets that I gained from working with different people around the world, when like online virtually, I do think it applied to work. So yeah, so that's why and then also the cost of the MBA too, like Toronto and the program, I think back then is for 2 years. I think it definitely like 6-figure or something. So it was much more, it's much higher, and I don't see the value of it greatly for like compared to the IE, especially like ranking wise. I think IE does have higher rating overall compared to UT and a lot of other Canadian business schools. Well, that's my personal opinions. Question is, would I be able to elaborate on what the MBA brings me in the work related, rather other than personal achievement? If I had to sum it up, I would say there will be two main things. First, the MBA allowed me to speak the same language with many leaders in the business. So as we progress to higher level, being able to communicate effectively with non-actuaries will increase, become more and more important. A lot of people working in the risk management area are MBAs. I'm also very interested in the strategy work, and mostly they hire MBAs, and for good reasons too. So it makes the work much easier when I talk to them, when I have the same language. And when I mention like having the same language, is because I also went through the same experience. I took business courses. So it's like, I have that mindset. I understand what they are talking about. I can understand why they think or they approach the problems certain ways. And the actuaries, the perception value of like the actuary, we still like very technical specialists. We're not great in communication or management, and why the MBAs do. So for this, it's like be able to speak on the same language with like other people, senior leaders and stuff. Like I think that is great. And secondly, I would say having an entrepreneurial mindset. So if you're technical and you used to work with similar people, actuaries, we may be too used to how things are working. But when you work with other people with different mindsets and expertise, it's really broaden your own views and your own opinions. So you can go, like you can think outside the box more and you can be more creative in that. So it's helped me to ensure me like building this mindset to like constantly thinking outside the box, and I can apply that to work, because like sometimes maybe like if we working at work and it's like, okay, so give me the estimate of for this risk and for this whole at whatever probability level for the distribution. But maybe instead of like I go in and just do the test, I would ask what exactly we're trying to solve here. I go back to the problem, the core problem of this. And because like maybe perhaps I don't have to provide those estimates of exact in that format in order to solve the business problem. I understand it. So for me, the biggest lesson I learned from business, and this is for my first business course in undergrad, is you always need to answer, so what? Okay, you give me some facts, you give me some findings, you give me some information, and then so what? And actually, like the MBA training, we are trained, or we are trained to like be able to paint that picture overall to tell the story of so what? Yes, is what is the problem in this? What are the different solution or potential options, and what would be the recommendation? That's the approach how we think about things, about solving the business problem. Because at the end of the day, the company is like we want to help the company to solve different problems to add the value to the bottom line. So that's that whole like different mindset, entrepreneur mindset, strong business mindset. Like I think that whole thing with the MBA experience that helped like greatly enhance on it. And not that you have to go, but at this point I want to say it's really important like which type MBA program that you go for. Like I mentioned before, if like let's say if you go for I didn't choose Schulich because it was course-based and it would be like just end up to be like studying another different technical course and stuff. I didn't want that experience. So it's like I wanted to challenge myself with having the case study method, working with diverse group of people. And because I really think that's like where you can learn by observing other people. So I think like, and it's also like, this is why like there's like people want to see like going through the top business school, because that's where you can meet more people with like the ambitions or the hardworking or like different creativities and mindsets and stuff. So I do think it helped me at work, because like now at work, that's always the way I think. And in order to like solve the problems, like using outside the box, they're creative. And like at this point, like my leader also mentioned that like when I ask her what would be the most important quality she thinks for the role, and she said that is providing effective solution. So it's really about solving the solution, but you can only solve the solution when you know what the problem is and how you will want to approach on this. Another aspect I have to say is like this life for work is because I'm not interested in the traditional actuary work or reserving or valuation and stuff. I'm interested in the non-actual work. The business roles or like in the risk management, like in like becoming more like management leadership and strategy work and so on. So for me, like the training from the MBA, have given me a different brain and they're giving me different experiences, different like, enhance my business mindset and so on. It was valuable, and for the cost of what it was, like, which I consider was like, the cheapest, the less expensive side compared to a lot of other MBA options, I think it was worth the investment for sure. Another question is it still beneficial to get an MBA even though we write actual exam when working? I would say personally for my own situation, it is a yes. And I did explain my reason in the first episode about this topic on what the value of MBA or like what the goals you may have with MBA. So you can check out the video here. So overall for me is it's like a potential, having a potential career switch in the future to make sure that I will be qualified, to have a master degree. And it's also for my, career development, enhance the management and communication skill, like giving me that brain identity that, unfortunately, the actuaries are not well known for. So the MBA, it does have a market perception value that the MBAs are effective communicator, have a strong business mindset, and be able to communicate with like senior leaders and to solve different business problems. So overall, so those I have multiple reasons to go for an MBA, and that's why I did. And also like having an MBA like further enhance my soft skills and the business mindset, and you won't be able to really get the experience that you can get with the right MBA program by writing actual exams. Like writing actual, like these actual exams are still very qualified. And although like if you go for the corporate finance and EM track, and yeah, like there may be certain topics that will have overlap with the MBA, but like with my experience with the MBA, with like the case study methods, by working with multiple, a diverse group of people and stuff, I don't think you like, definitely you wouldn't be able to replace that experience yourself with just the actual writing actual exams or doing the workshop with the Society of Actuaries, or doing like presentation or like the FAB or Fellow Mission and course with the actual organization. So definitely for me, it's still beneficial. But again, I highly recommend you to check out the previous 2 episodes where my friend and I talk about the different goals that an MBA can definitely like that be beneficial, and which one may not be, and what the different considerations that you should take into account whether an MBA is worth it for you or not. This is it. And if you have any other questions about this topic, feel free to let me know in the comment sections, and I will do another Q&A video on this topic or other topics about like my different experiences with the CFA, the MBA, and now like my second master in computer and IT. So yeah, I do have a lot of, as another person say, I do have huge appetite for learning and also trying to apply it to work and career development and so on. So feel free to let me know any question. And another thing is like I also just started a membership program which you can join, and maybe you get to see some of the exclusive content, access to early videos, or like even the top tier is like having a monthly meeting with me if you're interested in having me as a personal mentor or career coach. So anyways, thank you for watching today's video, and for supporting my channel on the time, and have a great, productive, happy week ahead. Bye now.